Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Under Eagle Mountain Making Podcast. Hello, my name's Laura and this is my podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been making recently. That's knitting and sewing and natural dyeing mainly. They're the sort of three hobbies that I do the most, although if you've been watching from the start, when I started in sort of end of March, beginning of April, I was just starting to learn wheel thrown pottery, and I did a sort of 10-week term then, and we had a summer break, and I've done 3 weeks, but I've actually done 4 sessions of the next 10-week one. I'm missing one in October, so I was allowed to make it up this week. So I've actually done 4 sessions and I'm really enjoying it, and I am slowly improving. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. I've got a couple of finished objects this week, a knitted one and a sewn one. The knitted one actually I finished a while ago. I think I talked about it last time, and I knitted it in like 2 days. It was really quick. It's this. It's called The Front Side Flip by Heather Walpole, and it's knit in Durerum Natura Ulysses. I'm going with. Some people say Ulysses. I'm not entirely sure what's correct. It's the first time I've done stranded colour work in the round, and it was dead easy. I mean, it's a really simple pattern, obviously, but it was dead easy. It was really enjoyable. It was super duper addictive, which is why it happened so quickly. I'm quite proud of my floats. Look how neat they are. On lots of different knitting podcasts, like the advice given is every few stitches pull the needles along on your right hand needle, so those floats are stretching out, they're not all bunched up, and so it's like a 4-stitch repeat. 4 white, 4 green, 4 white, 4 green. So every time I change colour, I just stretch them across, and that seemed to work really well. The colours are white pepper and forest. I'm knitting this for my cousin, who I'm seeing next month. I really hope he likes it. He doesn't know I'm doing it. It's a surprise. I think I said last time he showed me a hat, like a ready-to-wear hat that he really liked, and he was saying he had a friend that knitted, and he was really hoping she would knit him one, but it didn't seem like it was going to be forthcoming. So I thought, oh well, I can do that. And yeah, it's blocked out really nicely. I was worried it's going to be a bit small, but and a lot of people on the Ravelry project said it turned out really small, but I think I might have gone up half a needle size, or no, like 0.25 mils. I think it was meant to be done on a 3.5, and I did it on a 3.75. Partly because lots of people said it turned out small, but also because I had 3.75 in all the required circumferences and the DPNs to do the top, and I didn't for 3.5, and I thought, well, I'm not buying needles, it'll be fine, and it is. And it's obviously a success because my husband has asked for one, my daughter has asked for one, and my eldest son has asked for one, so I've got to knit lots of these, so I'm really pleased it knitted up quickly. But I'm taking that as a vote of confidence. So yeah, that's one. I'm really pleased with it. And if I weren't the host, this would be something that I could enter into my KAL, the Knit Patchwork KAL, which started at the beginning of the month and runs all the way through to the end of November, so runs for the whole of autumn. And yeah, I'm really pleased. So that's my first one. My second one was not quite so successful. I had this really lovely brushed cotton. I've had it in my stash for quite a long time, and I decided I wanted to make a pair of bob pants out of it, but I'd not remembered that actually it was very narrow fabric. So I think I had about maybe 1.5 meters, which is enough to make a pair of bob pants, except it was really narrow. It was only like 100 centimeters or something. so they wouldn't fit. So then I thought, oh, well, I'll just make a basic skirt. And I did the 2 panels, I did the pockets and everything. It was all looking really nice. I'd finished all the edges, like painstakingly with zigzag, because I don't have a overlocker. But then when I came to put the waistband on, it just wasn't working. It's quite thick. Brushed cotton is quite thick and it's quite heavy. So once you had all the, all the various layers and the elastic and everything, and when it was ruched up, it was really thick. So it added like about an inch to my waistline all the way around. It was not the most attractive look. But also, even when I tightened the elastic quite a lot, it didn't really want to ruche up because it was so thick. But also the skirt was quite heavy. So like at the front and at the back, it dipped quite a lot. So it was higher on my hip bones and then it dipped front and back. And that and the added like bulk of it and everything, it didn't look great. So I was a bit sad. So I took it apart. I cut the waistband off because I'd already sewn like through the elastic and everything, and I decided I just couldn't sit and unpick it all. So I cut that off, and I unpicked the side seams and I made a top. It's just a really basic Orwell box top. Orwell's the pattern designer and the pattern's called the box top, and it's a really good pattern for beginners. I think it's the first garment pattern I ever sewed, and I've talked about it before. You have a sleeveless option, a short sleeved option, a sort of longer sleeve option. You can do the tops at different lengths. You can add a peplum. She shows you how to add skirts, so like a straight one, so you can just add to the length of it, so you get like a tube dress or like shift dress, or then you can have a gathered dress. And actually I'll talk about this afterwards, but that's going to be an Orwell box top gathered dress. I've made lots of different versions of it. It's probably my most used pattern. I really like it. So I thought, I know, I'll have enough for that. And I did just about had enough. Like once I laid them down, I did just about have enough. The sleeves are sort of a slightly custom length because it was basically as much length as I could get on them. And I don't think it matters, but I'm going to own up to it. I didn't have enough to do like a turned hem anywhere, like on the sleeves or on the bottom. I was just turned it, zigzagged the edge, so hopefully that'll stop it fraying, and then I just turned it up once and sewed it down, so it's quite poor finishing. And I actually did that the same on the neck. You're meant to, make a bias tape and do like a bias where you fold it over and it gives a really nice neat edge. But I didn't, because the fabric's so thick. I thought that would end up with a really bulky edge. So it's not brilliant, it's not perfect, but actually nobody's going to see the inside, are they? Because it'll be on my body. So I decided just to not worry about it. It was like making the best of a bad lot, basically. So that's it. It's just like a boxy t-shirt. It's very comfy. It's a really nice colour. I feel it'll go with lots of things. It'll go with my sweater. Oh, I haven't talked about this. This is the wider sweater by In Young Kim, and it was in like the winter liner magazine 2 years ago, and I really love it. It's got like a sailor collar. I've shown it before, I'm sure, and these big cables up the front and the back. I think I've got a photo somewhere. In fact, I'm sure I've shown it before, so maybe I won't bother. But I love it. It's my favourite. It must be my most worn sweater, and I think it'll go with that colour-wise. And I've got another cardigan that I bought recently, actually. It's hand knitted. It's knitted by a lady called Rebecca Sellers. That's what she is on Instagram. That I met at a dyeing workshop with Wool and Flower a few years ago, and she is a really beautiful knitter. And I will try and put a picture of this in, because otherwise it's like pointless me talking about it. But she was kind of like selling off some knits that she'd made but she didn't really wear, so she could knit new things, she said. And I bought this cardigan because I just thought it was so beautiful. I loved it. And I think like that sort of all over colour work is beyond my knitting skill level at the minute, so I was very pleased to have it. And this looks really nice under it, actually. Just as a sort of slightly side tangent, I did talk about this slightly in my Instagram. I've got loads of bits of fabric, and I've got loads of wool, and I've got loads of ideas, and I want to do this and I want to do that. But I thought before I start making decisions, I'm going to look back at what I have made this year and what I made last year, and just think, you know, what was really successful, what do I wear lots, and what is not getting like space and rotation. And I was specifically thinking about colours. I want to make things that will go together. So not like one dress with one cardigan or one jumper and then and I can only ever wear them together. Like, that's not good, is it? I want to be able to make things that go with lots of things. So this jumper goes with loads and loads and loads of my clothes. I don't know if I can show you. Like, I've got this skirt on today, and I had a pair of trousers on yesterday that it goes with, and I've got another dress that goes over the top of, and the dress and the trousers that I made in that lovely Maine linen that I wore lots over the summer that I showed goes nicely with it. And that's kind of what I need to bear in mind going forward. So I've started like going through all my different piles of stash and pairing things up and thinking, yep, that goes with that and that and that and that, and you know, that would be worthwhile. So yes, I'm going to make it. Just because I don't want to end up with a jumper that I can wear with one thing, or that I really love, but it's just not a colour that I would ever wear. So I like the colour in theory, and I like the pattern in theory, but actually it doesn't suit me. Or we talked a bit about this at like my craft night that I was at last night. You know, I just really want to make it worthwhile, both in terms of my money and my time, but also the resource. You know, I don't want to knit things and them sit in a cupboard, which I guess is what Rebecca was doing when she was selling stuff off. That was a bit of a side tangent, sorry, but it's just something I'm holding in my mind now as I'm planning things. So yeah, they're my two finished objects. Oh, I tell you what else I finished is dyeing all the sock sets. Well, I've made 4 sock sets, and I think 2 of them will probably be as presents for the knit along for the cow that I'm hosting. So I'll show you the 4 sets, but I'm going to keep one of them at least, unless, I don't know, somebody won and they said I really, really, really want that one, and then I would give it them. That's fair enough, but I don't think they will. It's a bit of, it's probably the least exciting of the ones that I've dyed, but I just really love it. So first off is this set. I apologise for the glare on my glasses, but like last time, it's quite a dark day, so I've sat this way round just so I can show you things more easily. So that's a really good representation. This at the bottom was dyed with green walnuts, but it was an exhaust, so I'd already dyed 2 things in it, so it's paler but a really lovely colour. And then this is sage. I had a big sage bush in the garden, but it was all dying back. So I dug it up and I used what leaves there was to make a big dye bath. And I realise now I should have taken cuttings from it to start a new plant, but I haven't, so I'm going to have to buy a new plant. But anyway, that's sage with iron. So it came up a yellowy colour, I'll show you in a minute. And then it goes this lovely green colour. So I think they look nice together. So this is 100 grams and this is 20 grams, so enough to do your cuffs and maybe your toes, depending on how big your feet and your legs are. So that's one set. This is another set. So this is all sage. So this is like the original. These 2 were dyed in the same dye bath first, and that one dipped in iron. So that's what colour it came out. It's a really nice yellow. And then this is sage with iron, but this was in the exhaust bath. So again, it's a bit paler. Sort of using up the colour that's left. But I think they look really nice together. Again, 100 grams and 20 grams. It's all 100% wool, Corriedale wool, and it's got a high twist in it, which means it should be sturdy enough to knit socks in without any nylon. The high twist should help it be durable, particularly if you knit it at quite a tight gauge. So I knitted the 2 pairs of socks I've knitted with this yarn so far. The first one was on a 2.5mm needle, and then for the second pair I actually went down to 2mm, just because I still had space on a 60 stitch sock. I still had a bit of space in my foot, so I went down the needle size and it was fine, and it gets a really nice tight fabric, so that should stop or help reduce the wear so that they don't go through immediately. And then the third set is this. This was dyed with goldenrod. So I said last time that I collected some goldenrod out of my auntie's garden. It didn't quite come out as bright as I was expecting. I think there's a number of reasons. One, the flowers were just starting to go over, and I'd read that really you wanted them as they'd just opened to get the brightest colour. Also, I just stuck the ones that I had in a pan. I have got some in the freezer from my own garden, but I just stuck those. I didn't weigh them out, and I dyed 120 grams worth of yarn. So if I had less than 120 grams worth of flowers, which I probably did, because flowers don't really weigh very much, do they? It's less than a 1-to-1 ratio, so you're going to end up with a paler dye bath. And also, you have to be a bit careful when you're heating flowers that you don't overheat them, because then they just kind of go murky. You lose the sort of brightness and the clarity of the colour. And so I think I was possibly a bit too cautious and a bit too gentle, and I didn't heat it high enough. So all of those things kind of combined to give me a slightly paler yellow than I was expecting, but still really nice. But I thought it looked a bit boring. So I remordanted it. So if you're gonna like over dye, unless you're using indigo, if you're gonna over dye something, or it's a good idea to remordant it. So I did that, and then I laid it out, and I added onion skins, brown onion skins, and some of the walnuts. So this is wool that I dyed with the walnuts, the green walnuts. So that was, I think, one of the first things that went in, along with, this is Shetland wool DK. And so they were the first two that went in, and that's just the most beautiful brown. I love it. I need to find a walnut tree near me. I got those when we were away. So there's that. But you sort of soak the walnuts for ages, and then you heat them. But then when I strained them out to dye the wool, I kept them and I put them back in a bucket of water, and they just kind of go all slimy and horrible. But I think the more that they kind of ferment almost, that's where you get the brown colour from. So I just dug some of them out and I laid them on top of the wool along with the onion skins, and I just bundled them up, and then I steamed them in a pan. So a bit like when you're melting chocolate. I had a small dish at the bottom, water in, but the top of the dish stuck out of the water, and then I just rested the wool on top of that so it didn't go in. I've got a little video that I can put up of me unbundling it. It was a bit clumsy because I was holding like my tablet computer in one hand and trying to do it in the other and film it. But you can just see, like, it was literally lay the wool out, plonk the stuff on, wrap it up, and you know, it wasn't a particularly delicate operation. It had no finesse to it, but it's done the job. So you've got these like speckledy areas. I think there's not a lot of them, so I'm hoping that they would come up as speckles on the yarn. I don't know, I've never done it that way before, so I don't know. I've only bundle dyed once before, but I did it a different way. This was the way, I did it this way because I saw a video on YouTube by Emma Robinson of Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company, and I love her yarn, and she showed how she was doing some bundle dyeing with plants from her garden, and I thought, oh, that's nice and easy, that's a bit easy. I've done it with fabric, and I will do it that way again because the fabric I got was beautiful. I've showed that in past episodes. So I don't actually know how it will knit up. I'm assuming it'll be more speckly than stripy. I'd be quite interested to see. So I'm partly tempted to keep this one so I can see, but also I wouldn't want to give it away and it look rubbish. But then somebody who wins might say, oh, well, I'm quite happy to take that risk because they're really lovely colours. All of them together, let me see, they kind of give, to me, they're really like end of summer, beginning of autumn colour palette, like fading summer. It's the 20th today, so the autumn equinox, it's a Friday, the 20th of September. So Sunday is the autumn equinox, like the turn of the year. And that's exactly like the vibes these give me. The set that I'm going to keep, which I have shown on Instagram, I don't think I've shown here. Apologies if I have. Is this. So this is comfrey, and this is comfrey with iron. Again, I had a massive plant and it was overtaking like the area that it was planted in. And I've actually took everything out of that bed more or less because I'm going to completely change it. And so I just dug it all up. I chopped all the leaves off and made a dye bath. And then I didn't save any of it. I should have saved some of the plant because I really like this colour. It's very quiet. Like, it's not a super exciting colour. It's not jazzy. It's not, you know, I think some people would look at it and think, that's a bit insipid, or that's not very exciting. Like, you know, if I was selling it, people might think, well, I don't want to spend that amount of money on something so pale. But I just think they're beautiful. I know exactly what I want to knit. Lorna at Thread and Yarn has a sock pattern called the fallow sock, and it's like inspired by, you know, a field that's been left to go fallow, and wildflowers have come up and seed heads, and it's got little stitch pattern on it, which I haven't read the pattern yet, but my assumption is it's where you enter like 2 or 3 rows below where you are and pull the yarn through, so you get like a long loop, and there's 3 together. I imagine that's how she does it, and you get like this little seed head pattern, and I just think it's just perfect for that. So yeah, unless somebody said, oh, I really want those, they're the ones I'm going to keep. Okay, so I'm hoping that some of you will think, oh, that's very beautiful, I'm going to enter that knit along because I want to win them. And if that doesn't convince you, maybe this will. This is a bowl that my husband has made on his lathe. He's very clever. It's made out of laburnum, which I think came from a tree in my dad's garden. They cut off some limbs, and laburnum's got really lovely grey and different colours, and you can see the pattern. My husband's made me a few of these bowls. Not that big, actually. That's the biggest one. I've got one here that I use like yarn bowls. I know yarn bowls, if you were going to buy them, often have like holes in or like cutouts that you can thread your yarn through. But actually, I find that these work brilliantly. So I've got my yarn in one. And so I just sit that on the floor next to me or on the table next to me, and it just stops it rolling away, you know, halfway across the floor or whatever. It works brilliantly. So he made me one very kindly to give as a prize. So I think I'd give out 1 sock set with the bowl, and then 1 sock set with a project bag, which I'm going to make. I'm kind of jumping ahead now to future plans, but just bear with me. I've got these patches. I got them from like a vintage shop years ago. I've had them a long time, and I meant to make something with them and I haven't, and some of them they need a bit of a wash, to be honest. They're a bit grotty. I think they are relatively old. I would be, you know, maybe from the 50s. You can see the sort of bit of yellowing and stuff on them. They are machine sewn though, not hand sewn, so maybe they're not that old. I've got lots of different ones. I think I've got about 12. That's a nice one. I really like that one. So I thought, given that it's a patchwork cowl, like you know, knits inspired by patchwork, I like that one because I like how they've had to piece bits together. Like, it speaks of real frugality, of really making the most of the fabric that you've got, you know, not wasting anything. And I quite like the wonkiness as well. My patchwork's always ever so slightly wonky. So I thought I'd use a couple of those to make a project bag. So one sock set would go with the bowl and one sock set would go with the patchwork project bag. So that's my plan. So I hope that feels worthwhile as a prize. Okay, so moving on. I've got 3 works in progress. One is this. I showed this fabric, I think, in my Instagram. It is a cotton fabric from Merchant and Mills, and the threads are actually like I don't know if you can see that, like a really bright orange and a really nice purple, but when they mix together they give a slightly muted tone, and I just really like it. So that's that fabric's all cut out to make an Orwell gathered dress. So just like a relatively high neck. I've extended, like, you can have like a crop length or a regular length, and I've actually done it so it's somewhere in the middle, so it should sit like just on my natural waist, hopefully, maybe just like at the bottom of my rib cage maybe. And then just a gathered skirt. The skirt piece is possibly not as wide as the pattern. I think the pattern wanted each, like the front and the back, to be 36 inches wide, including the seam allowance. My fabric was 60 inches wide. Did I say centimeters? Inches. 60 inches wide. So I just folded it in half and cut 2 skirt pieces from one length, just to like most efficient use of the fabric. So it won't be as gathered, but I think that's fine. I've got a 30-inch waist, so like the skirt waistband will be twice my waist measurement, more or less, minus like an inch for seam allowance. But it just means I have more of the fabric left over that I should be able to make something else from it. So yeah, it's gonna have like, I think, sort of elbow length sleeves. And the reason I'm making that, going back to what I was saying before about trying to match things up, is that it should go nicely with this work in progress, which is my heirloom quilt cardigan, which you can see I've seamed up. I'm going to be honest, I've cocked up some of the seaming at the back here. Can you see it kind of is a bit puffy? It actually looks better on the screen than it does in real life. But I don't know, if I try and show it a bit closer. There, I don't know if you can see that it dips, like I was following a line and I've kind of dropped onto the row below and then I've gone back up. So it's made a funny dip, which when you wear it, there's a little bit of a bulge. I do really like the pattern. I think as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh goodness, that is beautiful. If you haven't been here before, it's the heirloom quilt cardigan pattern by Catherine Seeberger. Catherine, I think, Seeberger. And you knit the patches individually, stranded colour work, knit them flat, and then you seam them all up. This is the first time I've ever knitted colour work. This was the first thing I did. And I'm not excellent at seaming, so those two things together mean like the overall finish is not as neat as it could be. Here, particularly at the sides, where on the star you have that one point, those stitches on a lot of them are really loose and a bit like not great, which means as I'm seaming them up, they've not seamed up as tightly as they might do. So you kind of got like a gappy effect on all of them, really. And I do feel a bit sad about it. And when I was sewing it together, I was like, oh, this is horrible, I hate it, this going to look really rubbish, like it's going to look really amateur. But do you know what, I need to forgive myself, because I've never done the colour work before, so some bits of it are loose, and I've not done a vast amount of seaming and I don't really like it. So I am going to have to go back and fix some of the bits. You can see it there. Can you see what I mean? There where it dips down, because I've gone into the row below by mistake, or maybe I've gone into the row above, I don't know, on the other bit. So I think I'm going to have to go back and unpick them because it's going to annoy me. But what I am really pleased with are the colours. Look at all those ends I'm going to have to weave in. I'm avoiding that in a minute. The placement of the stars has ended up quite random in terms of the different colours. I spent ages and ages and ages laying them all out, as you do, like making sure I didn't have two colours the same next to each other and that the stronger ones and the paler ones were balanced across it. And then at some point the cats jumped on it and moved it around, and my daughter said, it's all right, I've put them all back. And I was like, in the right place? She was like, yeah, I think. I was like, oh, okay. And then as I was picking them up to seam them, I kept getting muddled about, like, were they that way around or were they that way around, or... And so I know that I sewed some together in the wrong order, but so it's ended up quite random, but maybe that's better. I do really like them. I think they look beautiful. This yarn is Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company yarn. It's the Hearth DK, so it's all naturally dyed, and I just think they're beautiful. So once I fix the seaming, I'm going to pick up and do the sleeves. I'm going to have a pink sleeve and a lilac sleeve, I think. I was thinking of using these two colours, but I think I'm going to use this pink and that kind of purpley colour there. And then I have to do the bottom ribbon and the button band, although there are no buttons. And then it's done. So I'd said I wanted all the stars done by the end of September, so I'm well on track with that. And so I would quite like, if not entirely finished, mostly finished by the end of October, I'm saying. So this really was the inspiration for me starting the cow, was because I needed to kick up the bum to get this finished. I started it ages ago. But yeah, can you tell that I really like it because I keep showing it off? But I think that goes nicely with that. A lot of squares maybe, but I'm okay with that. And then the other thing I'm knitting, which I haven't shown before, and actually I've done quite a lot of because I've just become addicted to it, is quite a plain cardigan in this Noro Madara. It's in colour 15, which is called Geisha, and again it's like a lilac-y, like a soft purple lilac-y colour with loads and loads, like that's a good shot, loads and loads of these little coloured bits. It's so beautiful. That's one of the reasons I've knitted on it loads, is just because I just really, really like it. It's really soft. It's wool, silk, and I think alpaca blend. That's it in the ball. That's my last ball. So, and this, you know, sometimes you do things and then you think, well, that was, why have you done that? And people say to you, but why did you do that? And you say, I don't know. I decided I wanted a cardigan, and there were lots of cardigans that I thought I might knit. I thought I might knit a Felix. I thought I might knit, so the Felix is by Savoury Knitting or Amy Christophers, or I might knit a newly released pattern which is called the Better Waverley cardigan by Taylor E. Owen. And that's a really nice boxy cardigan, but it has quite dramatic waist shaping. So there's still quite a lot of positive ease even at the waist, but it's really loads of it at the shoulder and it cuts in. It just looks really, really great. And you just knit, I think you just knit the sleeve straight and then do a rapid decrease before the cuff, so you have a bit of a balloon sleeve. And it looks really nice. But lots of people have commented that the Noro Madara yarn really grows when you block it, really stretches. And I know that Casey Apple from Young Folk Knits knitted a jumper last year, and after she blocked it, it was massive, the growth, it was huge. And she ended up actually like cutting a line, taking out a section, and then grafting it back together, because it was like a dress. I thought it looked really lovely actually, but she wanted it to be more of a sweater, so she cut it down. So I thought, if I chose a pattern that was meant to be cropped like the Felix, or that had that waist shaping, and then it grew, like, it would look rubbish, wouldn't it? You know, if your waist shaping was around your hips, that wouldn't look very attractive. So I decided that I was going to knit an oversized cardigan, that it wouldn't matter if it grew, it would just look more oversized. So I decided to knit the Bandana cardigan by Rosa Pomar, which is in the winter 2023 issue of Liner magazine, and this is what it looks like. It's like a granddaddy type cardigan, and I thought, yep. So it could, and actually I don't have enough yarn. I needed at least 5 skeins, maybe a tiny bit more, and I have 4. And also it was not quite heavy enough, I don't think, the weight of the yarn. But I thought, well, if it grows loads, that'll be fine. I'll just knit it slightly smaller and then block it, and it'll grow and it'll be grand. That doesn't seem to have happened. I gave it a sort of mid-project block, and I measured it before and after. I think it grew an inch. I was just like, really? I was like planning on it. And I gave it a little tug and everything, but it wasn't happening. So I don't know. I don't know why that's happened, but it's happened. The other thing is, this cardigan is meant to be knit on a 6mm needle, but when I knitted it on a 6mm needle, I think because the yarn is not as thick as the recommended yarn, you know, the gauge isn't as heavy, it was really gappy. I didn't like it at all, and I thought, you know, So I went down to a 5.5. I still didn't really like it. And it's worth mentioning that even with the 6, with the largest needle, I hadn't hit gauge. Really, I needed to go up, but a needle size. But I thought, well, I don't like it at the 6, and then I knitted on 5.5. I thought, I still don't like it, but I'm even further from being engaged. So then I decided, throw caution to the wind, and I just cast it on a 5mm needle, because I really like the fabric. And I thought, oh well, it'll be fine. Like, it's meant to have lots of positive ease. And it gives quite a big range of, I can't remember off the top of my head, it gives quite a big range of ease. And I could knit the size 1 and be at the lower end of that range, or I could knit the size 2 and be at the higher end of that range. But because I was knitting on a smaller needle, and because it was slightly thinner wool, I thought, well, I best go for the size 2, so it doesn't end up too small, which I'm glad I did, because it hasn't grown as much as I thought. However, I definitely don't have anywhere near enough yarn to make a long cardigan, and it doesn't appear to be growing in the way that I thought I would. So I took it to my craft group last night, and I was chatting to my friend Imogen about it, and I was saying, what do you do? And I was putting it on. Do you think this is okay? Can I stop now? And we decided that it was. So I think I've missed off the last 35 rounds off. That's quite a lot off the length of the cardigan, like before you start the ribbon. But it will hit, I think, at like waist, maybe just like the top of my hip, the very top of that hip bone. And then if it stretches, that's fine. So I've just started the ribbon, and then hopefully, so that's all I've got left. Hopefully that will be enough to do my button band. I might make the button band a bit slimmer. I think the pattern has a 9-row button band. I might do 7, just to try and save a bit. And then the cuffs. So I knitted the sleeves. As soon as I joined in the round, I finished that ball of yarn, and then I knitted the sleeves. And I've just put them on hold. I've not done the ribbon. And they're like here at the minute. So I think if I just do a few rows of ribbon, maybe 6, they'll be, like, I think some people call bracelet length, I call washing up length, you know, sleeves. Hopefully I'll have enough to do that. If not, I might have to unravel my swatches, or I might have to unravel the sleeves a little bit and then have them slightly like a 3/4 length sleeve. So I'm hopeful that it will work out and that it will look nice. But I think the garment that I end up with will bear very little relation to the pattern pictures of the garment that I was started out knitting. But I think it will end up like a nice basic cardigan. And as I say, I've only been doing it like 10 days maybe, and I've almost finished the body and both sleeves. And I think partly it's just that the wool is really beautiful. It's really nice to work with, and it's really lovely seeing all the colours emerge. But also, it's just been nice to just have really basic stocking stitch, you know, to just sit there and knit and knit and knit and purl and purl and purl. And I can do it like without looking. In fact, I was sitting one evening knitting, and we had a power cut, and I was plunged into complete darkness. Like I had the curtain shut and everything, and it was completely dark. And I thought, well, I know there's stuff on the floor between me and where I need to go to try and figure it out. There were other people, my husband and my daughter were both still up, and we're in rooms with like candles and stuff. And so I thought, well, I'll just stay still and wait for somebody to come and bring me a torch or save me. But I could carry on knitting in the complete dark. I was very pleased with myself. So it's just been really easy, really mindless. And so I'm quite hopeful that I'll finish that this week. The reason being, so it's Friday today. By next Saturday, I want it finished and blocked, even if it's just a steam block. Because on the Sunday, on the 29th, my daughter and I are going to Yarndale, which is like an annual wool festival. Is that what I want to say? You know what I mean, like show. Wool and yarn show in Skipton, which is about 40 minutes from where we live. She and I go every year. It's like a little girly day out. I have a picnic. Take a picnic with us, and we just have a really nice day mooching around. And I would really like to wear my new cardigan to it, and possibly my new dress. But that's quite a lot to do in the next week, along with, you know, life and jobs and all the things that I should be doing. But fingers crossed, we will see. So they are my 3 things. Those 2 cardigans and that dress, which should all go together with other things that I own as well. Like I can't only wear those 2 cardigans with that dress, but like I won't have made a dress in jazzy cotton that I haven't got anything to wear over the top. A bit like that blue dress I made, that was right at the beginning. If you've watched right from the beginning, I made a dress out of blue and white, like plaid cotton or linen, and it's really beautiful, but I made it with massive sleeves, and I have nothing that fits over the top of it, so I can wear it in the summer when it's warm, and I can wear it, like extend it slightly. I could wear it now with like a long sleeved white top underneath, or like cream top underneath, but I have no layers that fit on over these puff sleeves. So I want to avoid that sort of thing, because I'm probably going to have to either just accept I can only wear it for a certain amount of the year, or I'm going to have to knit something like a slip over or something that I can wear over the top of it in order to extend its life. But then I need to make sure that that slip over will go with other things, so it's not just like a one-trick pony. So that's what I'm trying to avoid nowadays. So yeah, that kind of moves me on to like future plans that I've got. So the project bag is one future plan, and the other, I want to make a pair of bob pants, and I want to make a skirt. So the bob pants, because you know, I said I wanted to make them out of brushed cotton. That was too thick, so I've got some thinner. I have actually bought this, which is probably a bit naughty, but never mind. This is much thinner brushed cotton, so it won't be as warm as those, but I can wear leggings underneath it in the winter, but it will be cozier than normal cotton. That feels lovely. So that is like a mix of dark red, which will obviously go really well with this jumper, but there's blue in it, there's orange in it, and there's like an off-white. Feels lovely. So I think that would be a really good make. It'll go with lots of things, easy to pair up with stuff, t-shirts and stuff, and then this jumper on top. And yeah, that's one plan. Not entirely sure when I'll get around to it. And then another plan is this material, which is a Liberty cotton. Has it got a name? I think it's called Artemis. Liberty Piccadilly Poplin. And they had a range, I think it was called Odyssey, and it was inspired by Greek mythology. And this one, I'm pretty sure, is called Artemis, and Artemis was the goddess of the hunt. So you can see it's got like a foresty type motif with those little deer on and birds, and I really, really love it. I want to make just quite a simple gathered waist skirt, and so I could just do that. I could just like, I wouldn't want to buy a pattern to do that, but I think actually I'm going to follow the pattern tutorial for the bramble skirt, which is by Lorna from Thread and Yarn, both on Instagram and here on YouTube. That's what it's called. She's called Thread and Yarn, and she has very generously made a pattern called the bramble skirt, which she gives like quite an in-depth free tutorial for here on YouTube. So it's got an elasticated waist, it's got pockets, but it's got a gather, sort of like, you know, if that was the whole length of the skirt, you can put like a gathered tier in, so that there's more fabric here than up there. And so I think I'm going to do that. I think that will be really pretty. It'd be nice in the summer, but you can extend it, you know, from spring and all the way through autumn, maybe even into winter, with like tights and jumpers. And so I did wonder, I think that'll go well enough. It's not an exact match. This is more, there's like a paler yellow, I don't know if you can see that, and then there's like a orangey colour and a browny colour, but I think tonally there's enough. This is a swatch I made a while ago. I've shown it here before. It's a Woolly Knits fingering weight British wool. I think that's what it's called, Woolly Knits British wool. And I think the colourway is called Harvest. I bought this at Yarndale a few years ago in big, like 200 gram hanks. And here I've held it with a strand of silk mohair, which is Onion, that's the brand, which is, it's got like a higher silk content than a lot of silk mohair, so it's really shiny. But and it says 4mm needle. I was thinking of maybe knitting like a long cardigan. I think there's a petite knit, just to call the simple cardigan. I can't remember. It's got it's just like a long cardigan. I don't think I've got enough mohair for that. I might do another swatch with just 2 strands of the Woolly Knits, because I think I've got like 600 grams. I've got a lot of that. I don't know what I was thinking when I bought it. I was thinking that I'd have to hold it double, but even still, that's quite a lot for, I think, you know, it's a lot of yardage. But I think that will go. And the other thing I've got, which I think will go, might all be a bit too pale. I'm going to knit a swatch and see. This is Sanders Garn Poppy, which, I can't read what it says because it's 50% superfine alpaca, 35% cotton, and 15% merino wool. 50 grams equals approximately 110. So it's like a DK weight, isn't it? It's very soft. It's really soft. And it's kind of, I think this colourway is called Autumn Leaf, I think. And it's like a creamy, like oatmeal-y background, and it's got flecks of brown and green and blue and grey, and even like like this sort of coloured red, but it's so fine that it looks pink. So I kind of think that will look nice together. It might all look a bit too pale, but I think a nice jumper in that, it'd be nice to wear. I think it'd be really warm. It's a funny wool. It's like, it's almost like, I guess it's like an unspun. It's like a roving almost. I bought it on a whim, which is not something, I try really hard not to do that, but I like that bit there. I think it was something, it was probably a bit like that got me that green and that sort of ochre colour. And then that sort of garnet red. Then they are like my favourite ever colours. But because of that, I think it would go, see, it'll even go with that, I think. Where's that colour bit there? Look. I think it would go really nicely. So although I did buy it on a whim, I don't think it would be a waste. I think it would be, if I knit a really good plain jumper, like not necessarily boring, but like a sort of workhorse jumper, I think it would go with a lot of my clothes. So it was a bit of a kind of splurge, but I think I can easily find stuff to wear that with, no problem. So yeah, that's it really. I'm just looking at my list. Oh, the only other thing to mention, I did have a whip that was a star bonnet. I talked about it in the past couple of episodes, or definitely in the inspiration video for the cow. It's called the Sawtooth Quilt Bonnet by Fox and Folk, and I was knitting it. I've started it, and I was knitting it for somebody in my pottery group who's having a baby, but I think I might abandon it, or at least the version that I'm on. I was knitting it with some sock yarn by Pigment and Ply, thinking that a superwash yarn, which I wouldn't normally buy, but a superwash yarn would be good for a baby. I had it in my stash, didn't buy it especially. I bought it ages ago, I think because my daughter liked it. So I might just revert and knit her a pair of socks in it, really, which is what I'd got it for originally, I think. One, I think it's too thin. I think they said like a heavy fingering weight, and it's not. It's a light fingering weight. But I don't think the colour contrast, I'll try and put a picture in. I don't think the colour contrast between the two is high enough. But also, it's just a bit fiddly. Like you knit it as though you were making a quilt. So each square is separate, and then you seam it. And I'm fed up of seaming from the heirloom quilt cardigan, and I'm also not excellent at it. So I think it might not look that great for a present. So I might be rethinking that. I think that's all my news. This is a long episode. I think this is rambly, so apologies for that, but I had lots to talk about and share. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've not bored you to tears. Thank you if you stayed all the way to the end. Thank you too if you are a subscriber. I've had a little flurry of new subscribers recently, which is nice. I know sometimes you watch things in, like, I think particularly if you watch them on the telly rather than a computer, you don't always like it, like press the like button, because it's a bit fiddly if you're doing it on the telly. I always try and do it with other people, because I think if I did like it, I should say thank you, I liked that. And but I don't know what I'm saying, I'm moaning. I'm going to stop now. But just if you are somebody who likes it, and if you have subscribed, thanks ever so much. It's really nice. It makes you feel like happy. I hope you're happy too, and that you have a lovely equinox at the weekend, and that autumn is doing you proud. All right, take care. Bye.